Hey there, I wanted to approach a subject that was brought up to me last night that I haven't, one of my friends told me I haven't brought it up in a long time. It's all about knowing your audience. And I used to do a thing called Fishing with Hot Dogs. That was kind of my keynote, so to speak, 2-minute keynote. And what Fishing with Hot Dogs had to do with is understanding really who your audience is and how you actually bring your audience to you and make money as a business. So let's go into it. Let's go do it again. And let's go deeper into Fishing with Hot Dogs for a little bit. Hopefully you guys will like this. You'll subscribe. You'll follow me. I appreciate it. Anybody who does, just makes my day. So when I was a young kid, I was getting ready to go to a place called Metro Beach. I grew up in Metro Detroit. My parents were going to go stay there on our boat for about 4 or 5 days in the summer, just kind of hang out, at the beach. And I told my mom we had to go to Ray's Bait Shop to pick up some worms, and she just looked at me and said, "No way, dude. There's no way you're bringing a whole bunch of worms on my nice, clean, white boat that's going to be here." And I said, "Well, okay, Mom, how's it going to be? I need to catch some fish. What am I going to use?" And she said, "Of course, hot dogs." So my question is, did I catch fish? And the answer was yes. I caught fish. They weren't always the fish that I wanted. They were carp, and they were catfish, and they were suckers. And they were just kind of, at the time when I was a little kid, we called them bottom fish, bottom feeders. They just weren't the desirable species. So that's what happens as a business owner. When business owners go out there and you say, "Hey, who's your client?" and they say everybody, they're fishing with hot dogs. They're not getting the client that they want. Well, that little 8-year-old Mike, he grew up a little bit. He got to go up north. Those of us from Detroit, going up north is here. And we went to a place called Ludington, and Ludington was well known for a place called Point Sauble, and Point Sauble was one of the best salmon fishing places in the state. And I just became kind of obsessed with salmon, so much that I actually got a master's degree in trout biology, and I did my research on salmon and trout. But what happened, what I learned was that with salmon, they were very precise about what they were eating and why they were eating it and where they were eating it. There's a very nice temperature range that they fed. You go up to Lake Michigan where we were. There's some spots in Lake Michigan that are 600, 700, 800 feet, but these salmon would stack and they would move up with the temperature breaks. So we had to know exactly where they were, and what they were doing is they were feeding on fish called alewives. Alewives were an invasive species. Salmon were put in the lakes to take over and eat them, but they would go where the alewives went. The alewives went here, the alewives went there. That's where the salmon went. It happened. And they had a feeding season, which was all summer, and then they had a breeding season. If you know anything about salmon, they'll stage up at the rivers. They'll go into the rivers just to spawn, and then they die. So one of my mentors, he taught me that fish do two things: they feed and breed. And your clients do two things: they feed and breed. They're growing or multiplying, and that's what we got to look at. So when you start taking this fishing with hot dog things into account, it's knowing your fish. One of the things we say is you got to know your fish to get rich, and understanding who we're fishing for. So if you want to go catch bottom feeders, go throw hot dogs. This is what's going to happen. But if you want to go catch salmon, that delicacy, you got to go know exactly where they are, what they're doing, whether they're feeding, where they're breeding, what kind of bait they're actually in, and get precise. So that's what it's all about. You got to get precise to get rich, and you got to get precise to know your clients. This is Michael Rager. I own Teach Your Business of Fish. I own Whiteboards and Whiskey. Hopefully this helped a little bit. Comment below. Let me know what you thought. And, again, please subscribe.